Hotapu everyone. Today I wish to give a brief video on the spiritual understanding of black hair, black people's hair. We see here that we have various images from ancient Kamat, ancient Egypt, to modern times of black people's hairstyles. And I wish to give an insight about the powers of black hair from a Kemetic point of view in particular. So the first thing we should do is look at the words in ancient Egyptian called rinkam for the word hair. Here we have the word chow, chow, which means hair or foliage of a plant. Now, to understand how the Kamal saw things, you must look at their language. So the word chow means hair or foliage. It also means evening, darkness, or night. So it links hair to something in the night. The most prominent feature of night time would be the stars. It even has here the word for heaven. This glyph here is a word for sky or heaven. And here we see the word for spiral, like black people's coiled hair. Okay? And then we can look at other meanings of the word cha and its roots, chau. We see here chau means space or domain. It means an amulet, a chamber or hall of a temple. So the hair is holy. The hair is magical. Young animals, the hair can affect the animal mind. Okay? Here the word chauf means papyrus. The hair records and stores information. From where? From the stars. The word chas means knowledge, wisdom, speech. Okay? So by looking at these words, we begin to get a sense of how the Kamal saw the word hair. There are other words for hair. There are about, in the dictionary of Egypt, about 20 to 25 different words for hair. So they've clearly distinguished many aspects of the powers and functions of hair. One meaning of hair, if you go to the Dravidians, the blacks of India, the pre-Aryan times of India, in South India where the black people ruled, the Dravidians and the Dalits, they have a tradition called Jata Shiva, or Shiva Jata. Shiva is their word for God, embodied in you, and Jata means kind of like matted hair or a dreadlock. So the word Jata sounds very much like the Egyptian root of the word Jata, which is Jedta. So in ancient Egyptian, the god Osar, who was the Egyptian version of Shiva, Osar was called Nebjeta. Jeta means the stable one, the pillar of stability, or Jeta means a focused mind. Jed can mean words or thoughts, and Jeta also means to be stable. So dreadlocks in particular, called Jata in Black India, which came from the Shivites, the followers of Shiva or Vavosar, wear still to this day, these kinds of Shiva monks wear Jata dreadlocks. But the word dreadlock comes from the word Jed, which means stabilized thinking towards God. Because Jed belongs to Osar. It's called his column or his backbone. So now we're linking the word dreadlock to the word Jed, which means backbone. Here we have dreadlocks here, dreadlocks here. This brother has dreadlocks, okay? So when you wear dreadlocks, what's happening is you are stabilizing the brain. But when you have dreadlocks, I said dreadlocks, interesting. When you have dreadlocks, you're supposed to be a servant of Shiva or a servant of Osar, meaning a servant of the purest of your ancestors. Osar was the lord of the ancestors. The kingdom of the dead was ruled by Osar. So it meant to wear those dreadlocks, those jedlocks, you had to be a master or on the way to mastery of purity of cosmic conscious thought. Now, black hair is spiral-like. Here we have a diagram of the shape of hair strands of different groups. African has this kind of coil spiral shape, much like the galaxies have. Caucasian hair has this rather wavy to straight, as is Asian hair, which tends to be more straight, less curly. So the Caucasian go from straight to curly, Asian is more just straight, black is galactic, what I call spirit coil hair. Now, what does black hair do that other groups of hair cannot do? Well, according to the words for hair in Egyptian, one is shu, which means to breathe, to raise up to the sky, to exalt. The other word could be shenu, which means an eternal orbit of something, something that lasts forever. There are many other words for hair. But when black people have their natural hair, that coil spiral hair, that spirit hair, when black people begin to concentrate, let's say they're in deep thought, what happens is the hair coils slightly contract. The coil becomes shorter. When we're in deep thought, the hair contracts a little bit. These are micro contractions, compressing the power of thought to focus. So the hair actually goes into a slight compression mode. When you stop thinking, the hair relaxes. Now, when the black coil spirit hair is relaxed, it's able to receive information from the sky, from the stars, from the universe, the galaxy. It's receptive, in a receptive state. Now, there's something called the Bayawari Anu. I have a video on it on my YouTube channel, which is called the dialogue of energies, that the universe sends information to the earth, and the earth receives it, digests it, and sends feedback information to the universe. It's a dialogue between the earth and the universe and the earth. It's a call and response. Okay, so our hair, which is in the shape of galaxies, is able to receive intense waves of information from the galaxies, from the universe. Black people's hair allows them, because of the galaxy's shape of our hair, allows us to, through fractal self-similarity, access galactic information more quickly. Okay? Now, the galaxy can send intense rays or mild rays. Here's the onion, as they say in Egyptian. Here's the key. When a black person's hair is relaxed, meaning we're not thinking, by relaxed I don't mean straightened, I mean not compressed through deep thought, but just you're in an open state of mind, relaxed state of mind. It is bombarded, it is attracting all the dialogues coming from the universe. The more intense information, if it cannot be digested by that person, if they are not smart enough to digest that intense data streaming in from the galaxies, the data hits the coil of the black hair, bounces off the coil hair back into the blackness of space, this black background of space. That's why I made the page black. Okay? Now, this black background of space is called the deep black cosmic universe. That the universe started as deep black, what I call cosmic black. One word for God Almighty in Egyptian is Khem, which means the black one. So, when we are able to process those intense galactic rays, The rays go into our brain, and the DNA molecule is also kind of shaped like this. So we're able to imprint cosmic information through our DNA spiral coil hair into our DNA molecules. This connection between galactic spirals, black hair spirals, and DNA spirals is why black people are so spiritual, deep in our blood, in our bones, in our genes. Our hair allows spiral galaxies to speak to spiral DNA through spiral hair. Okay, so when black people straighten their hair, they cut themselves off from the galaxies. It cuts their DNA off from the communication antennae, which is the hair between the spiral galaxy and the spiral DNA. Now, when evil rays come from the galaxy or from others, the black hair, particularly the Afro and the Dredlocks, if someone sends evil rays or evil thoughts, evil energies to black people, people's natural hair, or black people with natural hair, I should say, the evil bounces off back to other evil people. That's important what I said. The evil does not penetrate. The black hair will make it bounce off, and it will land on evil people around that person or in that person's thought sphere, the black person's thought sphere. So oftentimes I've noticed that when, let's say one is in an elevator and it's a mix of Caucasian and black people, and if there's a brother or sister walks in with dreadlocks or afros, I do notice that the Caucasian people become nervous. Why? Many reasons, but one reason is because when a Caucasian and that particular person's racism comes out when they see a black person with original hair, the Caucasian person's, what I call vomiting, some call it projections in psychology, and the Caucasian person's fear of blackness, the source of their life, the deep cosmic black, which is the source of all things in the universe, comes from the cosmic black. The Caucasian, their fear comes out. The fear hits the black person's coiled hair. Fear is an evil force. It bounces back, hits the Caucasian person back in their face. So now when a Caucasian person of this type confronts black coiled hair, the Caucasian's racist evil bounces right back on them, and they feel it emotionally. They think they're afraid of the black person. But what they're really experiencing is the rebound effect that our hair has, sending evil back to the sender. In other words, when black people have their natural hair, two things happen. We become more ancestral and more proud to be black, meaning honoring our ancestral DNA, which is shaped like our black spiral hair, and it protects us against racism more. So what happens is in racist corporations, where they say you've got to make your hair straight, you can't have that afro, you can't have dreadlocks, and get a job in my Caucasian corporate world, they're actually declawing us, nipping our African wings, so that our black hair won't rebound to them their own racist vibes. One more thing I wish to mention about the shapes here of different kinds of hair. You see here, this is the African hair follicle shape. It's like an ellipse. This is kind of elliptic going more towards round, and this is more round. Okay? But if you look at this ellipse, everything in nature, in the sky, moves in egg shapes, ellipses. Orbits aren't circular. They're actually elliptical. Okay? Again, linking black hair to the actual geometry of astrophysics and orbital motion, tying us again into the cosmos. Here we have the goddess of Kemat called Het Heru, and here she has her braids and they're coiled. The word for coil is kundal in Dravidia, where the word kundalini comes from. So this shows the Egyptian goddess's hair coiled, as in kundalini. That what makes you beautiful, she's the goddess of beauty, is when your kundalini is coiled, it's uncoiling. Note the galactic shape of the spiral here, the spiral here, the spiral here. So the way to raise your kundalini joyously is to connect to the galactic spirals through your follicular spirals, which match your DNA spirals. Here we have Brother Ludacris in his fantastic afro. Here we have a black brother from ancient Kamat with his afro. Some modern Ethiopians, I believe. The Afar people here, yes, with their afros. So this is a very ancient hairstyle. We have the Dredlocks here. And one more detail about hair. When you have Dredlocks, remember, you must not be on weed, marijuana, drugs with Dredlocks because they are designed to help the mind focus on Osar, who is the lord of the white cloth, the purity cloth, called Obatala. You do not want to be doing marijuana, drugs, drinking with Dredlocks. It's actually completely against the meaning of Dredlocks. Now, have you ever had in your life moments of like these hot flashes, like your brain has like this hot flash that just zips across your head? Not only women have hot flashes, men have them too. Just these moments where you just kind of get this heat flash, this heat rush in your head and your skull. What's happening is you have the mind shown by the eyebrow of the eye of Heru. Then you have your brain shown by the rest of the eye of Heru. When your brain cannot process all that's happening in your mind, they kind of go out of kilter. Those hot flashes are the brain and the mind trying to realign with each other, trying to work together. When you wear the Dredlocks, braids, I'll discuss that later on some other time, braids. When you wear these hairstyles, they help the mind and the brain to synchronize and support each other, where the brain can process the mind's activities. Okay? So when you're wearing Dredlocks and braids, they're actually pulling on certain acupuncture points on the skull, certain power points on the skull. When you're wearing Dredlocks or braids, you must have a certain number of them. There's a science to this. It's about 10 different numbers. You should have either 18, 24, 36, 64. 64 is very good. 81 braids or Dredlocks on your head. Each of those numbers, 18, 24, 36, 64, 91, 72, each of these numbers do certain distinct things to your mind, to your brain and to your mind. There's a whole science to this, and I wish to give a brief lecture on why Black people must not straighten their hair, must not kill the galactic spiral in their hair because it harms your DNA spirals and disconnects you from the galactic spirals. It weakens you. In fact, one word for hair, which is chau, also has the root cham, which means, look, strength. Strength. Okay? The word to devour, making you strong. Cha means a book. You lose information. Char has the word to bolt, where you're locking in energy. I can go on and on and on. Here we have the word chari, which means to drive away or repulse. Like I said, if a racist sends you their energies at your afro or your dreadlocks, your hair will repulse them like a defensive halo. You see? So this is Ludacris's halo. The word chas or chao also means something holy or something of the wise. My only word to the modern people with afros and dreadlocks: drop those drugs. You can't do the drugs and then promote dreadlocks and afros with intelligence to a kamau. So I pray you enjoyed this brief introduction. I may do a whole class, a whole lecture on the deep powers of hair. It goes far beyond this, but I just wish to give you a soupçon, a little taste of why black hair is so beautiful, why we must maintain our hair. We must not straighten it. We can braid it, we can jet it, but we must never make it a straight line like this, like these two, because the galaxy stops talking to you and the DNA becomes weaker. Dwawend Hotapu.